Do you go by Jake or Jakey?
Jakey.
Okay, so I'll just say Jakey Marten. I'll introduce you, but also I'll say Blitz, and it's Blitzkriega, right? Like a Blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like when you read a book and you try to pronounce someone's name in a book, and then you actually hear the name. It's like, oh fuck, I've been pronouncing that in my head so wrong for so long.
Yeah. I do that shit all the time. It's so funny.
Yeah. All right, cool, man. All right, here we go. I'll do a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then we'll get going. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by American Helix. The American Helix is a revolutionary new concept in smoking technology. Designed and manufactured by American glassblowers, this pipe is light years ahead of its time. Based on Bernoulli's principle, the shape of the pipe, along with an innovative intake system, creates a Venturi effect through precision microholes in the chamber, which results in a slower burn that conserves tobacco and gives a smooth, refreshing smoking experience, making the American Helix the smoothest hitting pipe on the market. For further info or to locate their products, you can find them online at AmericanHelix.com. That's AmericanHelix.com. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. For the month of December 2016, Mountain Glass is offering their Boro sale. Troutman First Quality Rod at 30% off. Just put in the coupon code TAG at checkout. That's TAG. And don't forget that freight or sample packs do not apply to this sale. And for all you soft glass nerds, their Jewelry Making Essentials Kit are 25% off. Just put in the code JEWELRY at checkout. That's JEWELRY. And don't forget they'll be closed from December 24th through January 2nd of 2017 so they can spend time with their families and friends during the holiday season. For any comments, questions, or concerns, just go to mountainglass.com. That's mountainglass.com. Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 141. This is Jay Michael, your host, and thank you so much for tuning in today. With 17 years of experience behind the torch, I am as excited as always to bring you conversations with artists, sharing their stories in hopes to inspire and entertain, while helping you grow your business. And today is no exception. Today's episode features glass artist Jakey Marten, a.k.a. Blitzkriega. Jakey is known for all kind of fun stuff, from his balloon animals to his wood grains to his encalmos to his wacky antics on Instagram, especially his recent Wook video that he made, which is absolutely fucking hilarious. And we had a really fun conversation all over the place. Just kind of I don't know, him and I seemed like we had a lot in common, just kind of similar paths, kind of things we've gone through in childhood and the way we've grown up, different, philosophies and parenting in a sense as we were growing up. But he's definitely was motivated by his parents to really focus on his passions in life, and his passions is art. And when I first met Jakey, which was in person, I met him back about 3 weeks ago. He was in town for Zen's class that him and Casto did, along with Daddy-O. Travis Tyler was their third party there, and it was really fun getting to talk to him and to Jake in person, and really figuring out what his motivation is. And his motivation really is just creating art and finding his voice and whatever it is that he's doing. Not to mention just putting himself into situations and finding the fun in life. And you'll hear that in this conversation. He's pretty fun dude. And we get into a lot of conversation, kind of the origins of his story with his balloon animals and the wood grains and his styles in general, and what motivates him, and also where he's going to be going in next year with his work. He gives a little bit of a little teaser, but didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of whole thing per se. And that being said, part of our conversation we got into was really talking about towards the end of the conversation about now that we're in December, and I know if you're listening to this in like 10 years and it's in June, this really isn't going to matter at the point, but this will be relevant at the end of the year. I find myself, and I'm going to get into the next episode, actually, I'm going to be talking about this more in depth, but thinking about the end of the year now, it's here in December, and we're starting to wind down from the year, and I know a lot of us at this time of year really like to slap the pedal to the metal as hard as we can and just blow out this year on a bang. And I've been doing that now for 17 years, and it's one of those kind of things where I find that now that I'm going to be 40 in freaking 2 days, and I don't know if it's just a maturing thing or if it's just I'm just getting old. I don't fucking know what it is, but it seems like there's a trend that I'm hearing from a lot of other people in different spaces of business and art and just life in general, that they're really taking time to reflect on the year. And December is a good time to just take a little bit of time off if you can afford to, and sit back and reflect on the year. Like, what did you do good? What did you do bad? How come you did it bad? How come you did it good? And if you can really ask yourself deep down, like, what it is that you were successful at and what it was that you failed at and why it is that you did those things, then the next following year you can really take care of those specific areas that you either excelled in or you failed in, and make sure that you are, again, successful in the areas that you were successful in, but then the areas that you weren't successful in, that you could become successful in. However you got to go about doing it. I know myself in 2017, I'm going to be doing a lot more delegating. I know I have people in my life, in my circle, that are way better at me at certain tasks and jobs than I am, and because I try to do everything, which I know a lot of us try to do everything, it doesn't always work, and it makes us bogged down and overwhelmed and feel all crazy in our heads. And so what I'm going to do in the next episode is really dive into this. It's kind of a way of setting up a system for how to plan out 2017 for yourself. And because I'm going to be going through this now here next couple of days, and again, I'm going to be 40 here, and see, I'm recording this intro. The interview was yesterday. I'm recording this intro today. The show's going out today. It's Wednesday. Friday is going to be another episode, which I'm going to be diving into my story, my origins, and also talking about next year. So just stay tuned for that. I'm kind of getting a little sidetracked, rambling here, but I just kind of, I think it's important for us to think about this year now at this time as we wind down our orders and what have you. So. Yeah, so before I get all off tangent and sidetracked here, I wanted to remind you that if you are ordering from Mountain Glass and need any materials or supplies, to make sure you get all your orders in by the 23rd. That is going to be on Friday the 23rd. They are going to be closing through January 3rd, 2017. They will have limited staff on hand. They cannot guarantee that they'll be able to ship out orders, but they will do the best. They will not be answering phones, and the retail portion of the warehouse is going to be closed also. So make sure that you plan your orders accordingly. And as they say, thank you for understanding. They do want to make sure that you understand that also because of the craziness right now with UPS and FedEx and the post office and what have you, that they are going to be bogged down also. So just because that you get your I'm getting sidetracked. Mountain Glass now has pomegranate tubing. Hot damn. I'm going to be ordering me some of that tomorrow. Nice. But yeah, so think about it. I'm actually right here. I'm talking to you. I'm not even going to hit pause. I'm just going to go to the UPS website. Not UPS. I want to go to USPS. You guys can probably hear my pup out here with me whimpering a little bit. And maybe you can, maybe you can't. USPS.com. Post office. All right. So they have their dates set up for when they recommend that you get your orders out to make sure they are delivered in time. Holiday updates, mailing deadlines, etc. Let's see what they say here. Holiday shipping deadlines. And I'm going to post this on Instagram as well. So they're saying that to make sure that your orders are shipped before Christmas. Christmas is on Sunday this year. And it also goes for Hanukkah and Kwanzaa. I can't leave anybody out. We've got to make sure we cover all bases here. I don't want to be a pigeonholed celebrating Christmas Christian here. Gotta make sure I share the love with everybody. But make sure that you do, in fact, have all your first-class shipping orders mailed out by the 20th. Priority mail service deadline is 21st. Priority mail express is the 23rd. That's typically your overnight and second day. USPS retail ground, December 15th is the deadline to make sure things are done by Christmas. And then I'm not sure what this other shit is, so just ignore that part. So anyways, so here's the dates. If you're shipping first-class mail, you need to have everything mailed by the 20th. If you're doing any priority service, the 21st. And if you're doing anything overnight or second day, it has to be out by the 23rd. And again, I'll have these in the show notes as well as I'm going to post this on Instagram. They have a whole bunch of stuff for international shipping for the military and for around the world, which I'll just put some links in the show notes for you guys can check that out if you're mailing to any family overseas who is in the military. And thank you so much if you do have family in the military, as you as a family member supporting your family member who is fighting for the country here. And if you're out of the country and you're listening to this in a different part of the world, I know you also are celebrating the holidays, and it's pretty cool kind of where we are now in this whole world of glass, this international base of this love and community and family, as we all share a passion for glass, and we're all gearing up. And I love seeing all the new stuff being created by artists all over the world right now for Christmas time and for the holiday seasons and for Hanukkah and for Kwanzaa. It's just so much fun. I love it. So definitely, if you're on the Instagrams and you're on, want to see what's being made out there, just go to your hashtag search and just put in like hashtag Christmas ornaments or hashtag glass art or holiday glass, that kind of stuff, and see who is making what out there around the world, because there is a amazing amount of talent that is in our community around the world that is making some amazing glass right now. So it's just super cool ways to get influenced. So there's another little tangent for you. As I'm like almost 10 minutes into this intro. So let me just make sure I got all covered my bases here. Just definitely stay tuned for the end of the show. Going to be announcing... Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do it right now. So in the episode I had with Scoz, we had got into the discussion about two of his fur babies. And I definitely like to continue asking these questions because, for one, it's a fun detail of our conversation, because not all of us have children. Myself being a parent, I not only have my furless babies, but I also have my fur babies, and I love them all. My furless babies I love, obviously, way more. They mean more to me than my fur babies, but my fur babies are just as special to us. And when they are hurt or sick or tired or get lost, it's devastating. And Scott had talked about his pups and an incident that he had where one of his got on a track and was gone for a couple days, and he was completely freaked out about it. So the question for this week's episode is back on Scott's episode, the Scoz episode, which is 140. What type of dog does Scott have, and what is the name of his dog that decided to go on a extended vacation? You can send your answers to info@wiseguyradio.com, info@wyzguyradio.com. I will have this question along with the link to my email in the show notes, so definitely go on there. The winner for this time around will win a $50 gift card from Mountain Glass, as well as a sticker pack for myself. And I now have an order in for shirts, so I'm going to be having two different type of shirts in. Right now I have it actually up on my Instagram through my Shopify page that I have created through the website. It's a nice T-shirt. It says Glass Artist with the little wise guy, little logo kind of guy on there, blowing glass. That's one version we're going to have for the Glass Artist. And then for the community who supports us and just in general, we have one that's going to have the Wise Guy Radio logo on the front. And then on the back of the shirt, it's going to have my little J. Michael Glass, little owl on there. And then little links to the websites and stuff so you all can help promote the love and the show and the community. So stay tuned for that. So anyways, give me the answer. I need both answers. What type of dog? Name of the dog. Send them both out. We will then take all the correct answers. Oh, excuse me. Good God. We will take all the answers that were right, throw them in a hat. My wife will draw a random name out, and then we will announce the winner on episode 143, right before Christmas time. So until then, stay tuned for this amazing, fun conversation with Jakey, a.k.a. Blitzkriega. Love ya. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to sharing my story on episode 142. But until then, we're sharing our story here with Jakey Marten. Enjoy. And you can find his show also, wiseguymedia.com/141. Love you. Take care. Sorry for this long intro. I'm out of here. Peace. Hey, what's up, Jakey? How's it going, brother?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing fantastic, dude. Today we got Jakey Marten on, a.k.a. Blitzkriega, out there in the world of glass. And super pumped to have him on today to talk about his wood grain and balloon animals and calmos and all kind of fun stuff, as well as his background in art, which is pretty intensive and something I definitely dig about your work, dude. And like I was kind of saying pre-show, the whole idea of you're a well-rounded artist in my perspective and what you do. So I definitely appreciate your style and your work, and also coming on the show and sharing your story with the community, man.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to get started by telling us your superhero origin story, where you got started in the glass, and then we'll go from there.
Well, pretty much in high school, I was surfing with some guys who were local glass blowers, and they always kind of, played it up to be this awesome thing. And all the stuff that they used to kick us down that we got to use was like really awesome to us at the time. So it was so magical. I had to get my hands on it. And, when I finally did at 17, I knew that like that was going to be what I had to do for the rest of my life. So like I ended up going to this art school in Virginia, a couple hours away from where my folks live, and studied glass there. And here we are.
Hell yeah! Were your parents like supportive of you as growing up, even as a kid, in the arts wise? Like, were they all about promoting it?
Oh yeah, totally. My parents used to be hippies. I mean, they still kind of are, but not so much, So they were super jazzed that as long as I was doing something I could like focus on, and excel at, then they were like super, super stoked. And having their support was really one of the driving factors to help me like want to succeed as much as I could,
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think it's critical, because being a parent myself, and also having my father and my mom both are, they're divorced, but they both are artists in their own mind as well. And
right.
my mom went more towards the medical field, and my dad went more towards the design and music side of things. But they both were definitely like, don't be a starving artist, but if you can find a way to make a living at this, definitely go for it. And so definitely gotta have that support.
Yeah, totally. That was kind of the balance of both of what I got. My dad was just kind of like, do your thing, go for it. My mom was like, be smart about it,
Yeah. Hell yeah. So what in art school, what kind of glass were you doing there?
All sorts of stuff. Honestly, like I focused on flame working just because I was lucky enough to have Amelia Santini as like my maestro there.
Wow, rad, dude.
Yeah, it was amazing. He's definitely like one of the coolest adults on the planet, I would say. But I also, I like doing a lot of sculptural stuff, and I wasn't really allowed to do pipes at all. So like I liked integrating, bigger elements from the hot shop in with like more detailed elements from like the torch.
Hell yeah. So you were doing hot shop work too, like blown glass wise there?
Yeah, totally. I honestly wasn't that good at it just because like I fucked around a lot. Like I was, doing crazy shit, showing up to like hot shop glass on, various things that make you see various things from time to time. So
Correct.
like, it was just the throngs of being in my early 20s and crazy. But yeah, I was so focused on flame working that I would more so have like, my friends, shout out to Rye Glass. If you're hearing this, he was out there at the time, doing, some of the help with the hot shop stuff, because it was usually like doing really big stuff, like stuff usually only like the seniors or like the grad students or teachers could like handle doing, but they'd like make me help them do it, and then we'd like figure it out, and then I'd kind of like go from there.
Yeah, dude, and I'm not saying that you're short, but you're not you're not 6 foot tall, so definitely, I've got some friends that are like 4'8" to 4'11", some females that do hot shop work, and like I've seen some of the scale, the work that they do, and I'm like fucking blown away.
Oh yeah, totally. One of my professors was like probably a head shorter than me, and she was one of the burliest glass blowers I've ever seen. She was so gnarly. Shout out Kiara.
Hell yeah, that's killer. So at one point in time, then did you transition into the pipes?
I started making pipes in high school, like before I was even there. And I had a job pretty much the whole time working at a head shop in their back room, making production and stuff. So the pipes was actually always a thing. I had always had it in the back of my mind that if I allowed myself to kind of like let go of that for like half of my time in the beginning, it would allow me to kind of like view making pipes as more of a like sculptural canvas, as opposed to just like an item making sort of thing, where like, don't get me wrong, like I love like just you're making a classic tube, for example, is like it's like you're making an item, so it's kind of hard to make like an artistic statement most of the time. So it's like, I still love doing that to, work on my craftsmanship skills. But like, I would say like through not being able to make pipes in art school, it allowed me to kind of gain this perspective of using pipes as a way to make an artistic expression.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I totally get that, because I'm in the same boat. Like I definitely having my gig over at the Mouse House and getting to learn and fully just focus on solid, because I mean obviously I'm not making pipes on stage at Disney,
Yeah,
so,
totally.
it's given me an opportunity to really focus on sculpture and art and other hand blown type glass, but then I could take that into my now work that I'm doing that's actual functional, and it's like it's a whole new fucking game when you can get that background like that to really focus on your skill and your medium, and then have a vision and then be able to make a pipe out of it, because I'm in the same boat too. Like I love to make a nice perfectly handmade tube, not on a lathe, all handmade, so it looks like it's all made on a lathe, but just because of the craftsmanship of it. But at the same time, then you get into like when Z was first coming out with her vag tubes, and it's like you take a tube and then you stick the shit on there that she was doing, and it was like fucking a whole nother world now, going from craftsmanship to an art piece.
Yeah, totally.
Which I, definitely influenced a lot of us out there, like Salt and all of us, it's pretty cool.
Two great examples too, because they are two of my absolute favorite artists. Like, shout out to both you motherfuckers too. What's up?
Yeah, exactly. Likewise, dude. Yeah, I need to get both of them on here on the show. So, yeah, man. So early on, were you doing any production at all? Like doing like hand pipes and chillums and bubblers and that kind of crap?
Oh man, dude, it was. I mean, I would say like my first good like 5, 6, 7 years even was all production. Like in that perspective, just because like I had started before the whole like hash oil craze, so like there was still a point like for a long time when like that's what I had to do to eat, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. So how long have you been doing the glass now? On the like
it's been about 11 years now. I haven't I'd have to think about it, but I'm guessing that's about kind of where it's at. I started when I was like 17, 29 right now. So yeah, about 11, 12 years.
Hell yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So then from that point, so you grew up over what, Virginia Beach?
Yeah, I grew up in Virginia Beach.
How was the scene there when you first got going?
Well, so like it's crazy because like before I started blowing glass, when I first like started running around smoking the good stuff and all that, and like smoking out of pipes, there was a pretty awesome scene out there. Like there was like 3 or 4 big glass blowing shops in the area, and they were kind of all doing their thing, like competing with each other, like pushing each other and like showing each other, or not really showing each other what's up, but like just like pushing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And which I thought was really cool because like it was just like elevating everybody's work from my perspective. At least there was one shop in particular where I actually first started taking glass blowing lessons. It was with a guy named John Bellotti in Virginia Beach, who like showed me the ropes initially. Like they were really the ones like I felt like who were pushing it super, super, super hard out there. And those were the guys I was actually talking about earlier. I used to surf with them, and they just, used to make glass blowing sound like it was like this magical thing. And then I went and started chilling with them, and lo and behold, it was.
Yeah, totally. I know, it's funny to do that when I'm on stage. I get the kids asking me like, "How do you do that? Where'd you learn?" And I'm like, "Oh, I learned from where Harry Potter went to school."
Yeah.
Because it is definitely magical. Yeah, and it's cool, man, too, because like Virginia and like West Virginia, Virginia Beach, there's been a glass scene out there for as long as I can remember. Not even just the pipes, but just like glass in general, hot shops. And I know Glass Baron is a big company that their home base is out there. Then all their shit's made overseas now, unfortunately. But I know that.
Yeah, it's so funny. Glass Baron has like they've indirectly trained and started so many pipe makers. It's ridiculous. Like I wouldn't be doing what I do without Glass Baron, which I think is it's kind of comical in a sense,
Yeah.
like ironic.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, dude. Because and like half of our crew that I work with at Disney, they're all from Glass Baron. So it's interesting to see like how they closed down and then everybody kind of like spread out across the country and they have these now amazing glass blowers. And a lot of them also aren't doing glass anymore because they work themselves to death just about like physically.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if some of those guys know this guy John that got me started. He's one of the coolest dudes I've ever like come across. So I wouldn't be surprised if they remembered him from Glass Baron.
What was his last name?
Bellotti.
Bellotti, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
You'll have to ask.
Yeah, super, super cool dude. Shreds it on the surfboard. Awesome dad. He's a good role model,
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's good shit. So, how long did you live out there before you moved out to Colorado, or did you kind of just travel around before the Colorado?
No. So like, pretty much like the way I did it was I grew up in Virginia Beach, and then like I went to college. I went to that art school in Richmond, Virginia, which was 2 hours away. And then like once I got through that, I pretty much moved out to Colorado like the week I graduated. Like I had the plan for like the whole year before I graduated to like move out and start a studio in the mountains out there. Yeah, which is pretty much what I did. I got a credit. I like convinced the bank to give me a credit card and maxed that shit out and moved out to Colorado.
Wow, yeah, it's a risk, but it sounds like it worked out for you. Shit.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good like 3-4 years of brutal struggle, but like finally things started to turn around at a certain point, and here we are.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, it's crazy, man, seeing how this whole community's evolved, especially now, like you're saying, like once the concentrates and all the scene really took a huge left turn. It's just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Now here we are now, and it's everything's being made, which is even better. So, but to kind of back up a little bit, so when you got to Colorado, did you start like melting with some other folks out there, or did you kind of just start your own thing?
Well, so initially I just started my own thing. Like two of my homies had a house out in Steamboat Springs. I don't know if you're familiar with Steamboat Springs. It's like in the middle of the mountains in Colorado. It's like it's straight up mountain town.
Nice.
And they were going to this school out there for like snowboard business, but they were also both like music producers, so they were kind of pushing each other out there doing their thing. Like they had this warehouse like under the house that like they were throwing these massive parties that were like getting super crazy, so they had to shut that down. And so I had the idea to like move in there because there was a loft and build a studio and pretty much just like shred. And so that's what we did.
Hell yeah. Is that where you're still at now?
No. So like that only lasted a winter just because like pretty much all we did was snowboard and smoke weed. So
sounds like a rough life.
Yeah, it was fucking brutal, man. So like we had to get out of there. So like my one homie moved back home, and then me and one of the other dudes moved to Boulder. And then he moved to Denver eventually, and I've been in Boulder ever since.
Nice. So who are you working with now? Are you like, do you have your own spot, or are you sharing space with other folks?
Yeah, well, I have right now, I have this big old like community spot that we're actually in the process of shutting down, but it's had like a handful of really awesome artists going through there, just over the past 3 years, which has been really cool because it's been just like this awesome brotherhood / sisterhood the whole time. I say that because we had Coldberger roll through, had Sand Lions and Serto and Vibe Glass up in there at a certain point. I started this studio with this kid named Jake Oliver, who's been making some like super, super tapped in like hypergalactic glass sculptures these days. And then, yeah, there's one of the guys who was with us the whole time. He goes by ID Glass. His name's Sean. He's like an amazing fume worker, really awesome homie as well. He was pretty much there the whole time with us. Then, yeah, there was just other various guys in and out throughout throughout the 3 years.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, it's just time to shut her down. I'm moving into my house, it's a little solo studio, so I can kind of recluse myself for a few months and work on some new stuff.
Yeah, like we talked pre-show. I definitely want to get into the whole that whole conversation about next year, or just preparing for the next year kind of deal. But
Yeah, totally.
yeah, so yeah, man. So let's get into your work. So when you first started kind of like finding your groove with your styles, like, did you have a focus? Was there an inspiration, like like a direction you wanted to go to, or were you just kind of like throwing a bunch of shit at the wall and seeing what was going to stick?
Well, I mean, I'm still kind of like this. Where just like I really like to make what I'm feeling at the time, just so I can so I can care about what I'm making and really make it as nice as possible.
Yeah.
So like I'm very sporadic with like what theme I'm working on at the time, and I just have so many ideas that I like try to always be working on that it all comes out kind of inconsistently, and that's like it was really bad back then, like few years ago. But then I kind of stumbled upon this the whole balloon dog thing, and that became like a main focus for a while. Like I had kind of been like loosely working on the design for like a year before I made actually like honed in on making the first one when I dropped it. And then once that happened, I kind of like made that my focus for a good few years.
Yeah, because it's definitely one of your items that you're known for. That, and then also your wood grain that you do too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So like so I guess with the balloon animals, like what was the initial inspiration? Because to me personally, dude, like in terms of an artist in our community that has a unique individual item that nobody is doing, you got that shit on lockdown, dude.
Oh, thanks so much, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I mean, that was honestly one of the original intentions. Was like, I had watched some of the other like artists that I really. Are you taking a bong hit right now?
Yeah, can you hear it? Sorry, I was trying to be like inconspicuous, but yeah, my microphone is super sensitive.
That's so good. Yeah, so pretty much like I had watched like the model of a few of like my homies who are like artists whom I respect like a lot, and really wanted to kind of just like take my own version of emulating like what they did. So like I kind of developed this formula where I wanted to create like this like image, like a like sculptural like image that was a blank canvas that had like universal applicability to everybody. Kind of like the money, the way like because like it was kind of like around the same time Coyle was doing his money, which was super inspiring to me. And I was like, I want this like blank canvas image that like anyone can like apply a theme to, and the image itself is like universally applicable to anybody. So like I kind of like had thought about it for like a good year or two, until like thinking like, hey, like a balloon dog would make like a really good piece. And then I started thinking about it more, and like thinking about how universally applicable like the balloon dog is to like anybody, pretty much. Like anybody can associate with that image.
Yeah.
And then
go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So and then pretty much from like there, I had talked about it with a few people, and someone showed me this guy Jeff Koons. I don't know if you're familiar with Jeff Koons's work.
Yep.
So like I see Jeff Koons's work, after having this idea and having worked on the form a little bit, and then it just became like this home run in my head, because I was like, oh, now I can take this like controversial like image that like represents modern art, like just like very, very, very simply, and then turn it into a pipe, which will like bridge, the whole like idea of like this controversial art form of pipe making and modern art, which it's like not very profound and it's super simple, but to me it just like seemed right, and like something I had to do.
Yeah, man. What I think is awesome about it, not only, I mean, I completely agree. Like backing up the whole with Coil and the Monies, like when I had D-Rock on, we were talking the same thing. Like he came across the money as like the the toy canvas, not knowing that Coil was also doing the same thing, and he was inspired just like from the money toy. He had no idea Coil was making them, and he had no idea there's a couple of people that were doing the same thing. And it's
Totally.
it's an interesting dynamic. When you're on different parts of the world or country, even, and like two different people are doing very similar things for the same fucking reason. I mean, you're saying the canvas idea, and I was inspired myself to what can I find in my world that I'm inspired by, that I love to make, that is my canvas. What could become my canvas, which became my Wise Guy line, my owls that I'm doing.
Yeah.
But with what you're doing, what I think is awesome about it too is like, there's nothing out there that is trademarked, copyrighted, anything that you could potentially get in any kind of legal fucking trouble for. I mean, besides it's a pipe. But other than that, dude, it's like, I mean, it's a fucking home run. And the fact that you can also take it and stick it on a shelf and have no idea that it's a pipe at all is perfect.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm really into design myself. Like, I heard you saying your dad was into that, so like, I really wanted to have something that was designed really well that could be like, like, not like turned into like a high end product that could be easily like recreated consistently. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, too, I think because I had never seen him in person before until you came in town last month for the class, and I saw your stuff on obviously at your show, and
Yeah.
To understand that when a balloon animal is actually made, it's all made from one fucking balloon. There's no attachments and pieces and joints and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at your flow of your pieces, it's the same fucking thing. It looks like you took a tube of glass and twisted that shit up, except that they're Jesus seals instead. So when the airflow flows as if it's just one continuous motion of a balloon that's been tied up and twisted up, and then to make the mouthpiece like the actual balloon knot at the at the nose type of deal, or on top of the head, I mean, it's like I'm all about it. Like I'm a very aesthetic. I like aesthetic in art, and I mean, that's why I find like the human body to be beautiful, no matter what shape it is, just aesthetically, So when I'm looking at glass out there, that's one of the things that stands out to me. It's like not only the shape and design, but also like the fact that you can take and make your own color tubing, and then take that full piece of tubing and then make this balloon animal out of it. But then you go out and you collab with other artists that are doing different patterns and styles and stuff, and then you can take what they're doing and then twist that shit up and make a balloon animal out of it. It's fucking cool, dude. Like it's a genius idea.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it leaves a lot of room for fun, which is like what I'm all about. So it's cool for sure. And to backtrack a little bit too, like you were talking about how like no one can kind of copyright that image. Like going back to the whole Jeff Koons thing, like part of what I thought was so funny was like he actually tried to sue some people like a bunch of years ago for making like these like bookends that you put on your bookshelf out of balloon animals, and he lost this huge lawsuit, and it was like this big controversy in the art world. Like everybody was talking about like, oh, can you do that? And so like I thought it'd be really funny if like I started making these pipes. I was kind of hoping he'd send me like a cease and desist letter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just so I could say I got one.
Yeah, totally. So you can laugh at them. Well, over in Disney Springs, which is like the downtown marketplace there, they have his work down there, and
Nice.
like smaller versions.
I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome. I love his work. Quite frankly, like some people don't, but I really do. I've got full respect for the guy in some aspects.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but when I first saw those pieces, I had to double take because I thought they were yours, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that. I get that a lot. I like. I'll get tagged on Instagram all the time. Like kids are like, "Hey man, is that you? Oh my god!" Like, and I'll be like, "No, like."
So funny.
It's not.
So that being said, so you've gone from the dogs, and now I saw you did a cat.
Yeah, there was a few. I did a little bit of an exploration with different animals just because, I'd been twisting up some different balloon animals with actual balloons, and I figured I should try some new stuff. So like I tried like a cat and a lion and a rabbit. But honestly, like after like having some fun with those, I really just like found that I love the dog form the most. So like for now at least, like I'm going to be focusing on that. I've got some other balloon type art in the works, but it's not so much like twisted balloons as much as uh like kind of like inflatable type stuff.
Yeah, man. Well, I've always had appreciation and respect for balloon animals. I mean, it's just, especially nowadays, like as people are learning more and more things they can make with them, I'm just like blown away. Like we have a restaurant over here, and on Sundays, kids can eat for free. It's actually like a little. They have like 50 beers on tap. Like it's a really badass little restaurant. And they got like the local balloon dude comes out on Sundays for the kids, and kids eat free, and he ties up crazy hats and crazy, whatever is out of balloons. And I'm always blown away by it. And then coming across your work and seeing you doing what you're doing is just, just one more avenue. I think just makes me blown away by this simple fucking shape, is what it is.
Yeah. It's funny. We have there in Boulder, we have like a really awesome farmers market, and there are I've seen like two different balloon twisting guys out there, and they're both so funny. One's like this kind of like, I don't know if he's creepy or not. Like I like to comedically think he's creepy, but he rolls around in like a Superman costume, like complete with like, the like undies and stuff. So you can see his package all hanging out and stuff. It's so gross, like especially because he's like hanging around the kids. But it's all
hilarious.
It's all good fun. And then the other guy is this dude who just gets like, I don't know if he does it while he's twisting with the kids, but like I see him in the bar all the time in town. He just like gets raging drunk with us and has a good old time. It's
oh my god,
tight.
that's hilarious.
Yeah. He uses his balloon tricks like to like try and pick up chicks who are like 20, 30 years younger than him. Which I commend greatly. Like the effort is just so there. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Like here's a flower, now here's a glass dildo or a balloon dildo, or whatever.
No, he's more smooth. He's more smooth than that. I think he just stops at the flower and hopes that'll charm him.
Nice. Yeah, that's killer.
Yeah.
So how's the function on those things? Because I know like there's a lot of air, dead space in those things. Like that. Does like each leg hold water in them? Like in terms of like the flow of everything? Like how do these things function?
Well, so I recently redesigned them, and you saw the new design, and they work great. I was really afraid there was going to be a lot of dead space, but it's like it takes about like a second or two of like pulling on the piece to get the full thing cleared. Mm-hmm. Just because the way the seals are kind of designed, like it gets the air moving the way it needs to be. So they're pretty good. Like you don't end up really like leaving any like residual like vapors in the piece when you're hitting it. Like I pretty much hit every piece I make just to make sure they're awesome, and then I clean them and refire them just to make sure they're clean again. But
yeah.
So yeah, I've hit quite a few of them, and I love every single one.
Yeah, that's good to know, bro. Because I do the same thing, and I don't tell my guests that, and so now that they're hearing this, they're gonna know. Because I'm like, damn, I want to smoke that fucking thing. Okay, I'm gonna smoke it and I'm gonna clean it and I'm gonna kill it and then it'll be all good. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've been finding the collectors love it too. They're just like they're all about being like, yeah, I know he ripped it, and that it's like he knows it's perfect.
Yeah, that's where I've gotten into now with my collectors too. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna do a little water test and pass it around the studio a little bit, get everybody's opinion on it, kind of thing. Because I think it's important especially when you're developing new work, to not just make something and send it off. Like you got to really field test that shit, to make sure it's going to function and not just be a joke out there in the scene.
Yeah, well, when it's a design that like you have to stand behind for like you have to put your whole like your name behind that design. Like you got to make sure it's the real deal, like. And sometimes you have slip ups, like especially when you're making like recreate product a bunch of times. But it's good to try and design something so it's like you have that happen minimally.
Yeah, man. Are you going into a tunnel or a cave?
No.
Just your signal's
I'm
got
not.
your signal got a little weird.
Oh, weird. Yeah, I'm just walking around my house.
Oh, okay. Cool. But yeah, man. So when you came in, kind of sticking on this real quick on the balloon thing. So when you came in town for the class, was a lot of the focus on the Jesus seal and the assembly of the actual function of the shape of the piece when you taught that class?
Well, so for, John and I were kind of trying to show two completely different perspectives of what sculptural glass blowing means.
Mm-hmm.
So like he has a really awesome skill set on the classic like carving sort of sculptural glass blowing that you think about when you hear sculpture, sculptured pipes. But I also wanted to kind of show how like it doesn't have to just be like taking a knife to glass. Like you can use some like traditional techniques to get stuff done. It's all about kind of just like opening your mind to like having good ideas and then thinking about how you're going to use the glass to execute them.
Yeah, for sure, man. So when you're going through that process, do you do a lot of sketches on paper to kind of like blueprint things out in the steps ahead of time?
Yeah, totally. And like I've been really trying to like do that more and more, like especially like for my work for next year. It's all going to be stuff. It's pretty much all stuff out of my sketchbook. So it all starts like there with like pretty much like funny like cartoon drawings of shit, and then like trying to turn that into like something that's like tangible.
Yeah, that's killer. Yeah, it's fun doing these interviews because I get to hear that like the art background, because not everybody in our industry can draw, and there's some folks I've seen that they can't draw a fucking stick figure, but then they can take whatever's in their head and put it into glass, just going to the torch and turning it on and like, hey, here's what's going to happen, and they make it in one shot or maybe take 2 shots. But I think the ability to be able to draw is huge and helps, but it isn't always a necessity. But I think, like even like with your balloons, for instance, you got to be able to sketch them out because of the technical side of what's going on with those things.
Totally. Well, I wouldn't necessarily. I can draw well, but I can certainly pick up a pen and try and create cartoon-like images on paper.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you saw my sketches, but like even my balloon dog drawings are shitty. But I personally think that's fun. Like if you were to look at my sketchbook, it's all like the most retarded like cartoon shit that like you would expect a 12-year-old to draw, except for usually a little more graphic, just because of my influences. Like I'm one of those people who draws penises all over everything, and I have no shame either.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, man.
Penises everywhere.
I was talking with Katie last night over at the Stead Zen, and for the longest time, like deep down in my roots of my darkest areas of my soul, I had like this highly perverted person in there, and I've been wanting to make a line of glass that was like completely X-rated and would just offend anybody and everybody, just because I want to do it, just because to have that expression. But there's also a market out there for that. Like nobody's really tapped into that, like Z came out with like, we're saying before with her vag pipes and stuff. And that was like a whole nother like, whoa, kind of deal. But then like, you never really see like any kind of like, people making penises too much. I mean, they're out there, but they're not like a common thing. Like, so
well, people are scared. People are scared of the penis. Cause like, they're not, I feel like there's this general, like superstition that the penises won't sell, which I think is ridiculous. Like, it's just got to be all about how you do it. Like I don't want to divulge too far into what I'm working on right now, but like one of the like subject matters that I'm working on is like guys in penis costumes, like taking a break from a job. So it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a dick per se. It can be like a dick shaped costume. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
But like either way, like people are scared that shit's not going to sell. And I don't think it matters so much as long as you're just doing you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, get all drunk and draw some shit in a sketchbook, like just because you think it's funny. And then like, to me, that's like what like art is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, dude. About 2 years ago, my brother and I did a little collab, and I made a little. He was out in Vegas for champs, and he saw these people walking around taking take a picture with Olaf for like Olaf costumes for like $5, kind of deal. Take a picture with Olaf, whatever. And I've been making him for Disney for like 2.5 years now. So we did kind of like a variation of a snowman costume type of thing. And Jared, my brother, has been making his character for a while now. And so we put him in a snowman costume, and he's like holding the branches in his hands. And I'm like, dude, he's like, tell me this kind of background about his character. And I'm like, what if we made this guy like this kind of like perverted, kind of weird child molester kind of guy that dresses up like these Disney characters or something and goes to these kids' parties and shit. And then we can have him like out in the backyard holding like a beer in his hand, kind of thing. But I wanted to give him a fucking boner. Like I wanted to have because being a snowman, they could be anything really you can shape him into. So I was like, have this perverted dude sitting out back in this Olaf costume with a fucking heart on, in the snowman costume.
Well, that would be tight too, because it kind of like you could make it be a reference to how there's subliminal like sexual shit hidden in Disney movies, which is probably why we're all perverted fucks in the first place.
Totally, dude. Yeah, totally. I agree. Well, it's kind of funny too, man. But when you get down to it, glass is everything we talk about. The terminology in the shops, whether it's a hot shop or a lamp working studio, it's all phallic and perverted sounding, anyways. Whether you're meaning it or not, and even when we're shaping glass out, there's always this phallic look to it. Like I can't tell you.
I think that's the Italians' fault, honestly. I'm not gonna go into that at all.
I know the excuse of like at the glory hole, and it's like where the glory happens. It's like, okay, sure, that's what we'll say.
Yeah.
Where we can't use the term glory hole at Disney, we have to call it a reheat.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Some of the terms we can't use anymore.
See, I think it was probably being referred to a glory hole as a glass blowing thing before it was like a gas station thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? So like I think if anything, the Disney people are just being perverted by being like, oh, you can't call it a glory hole because people are going to associate it with sucking dick through a hole, like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was like middle of the summertime when that kid got eaten by the gator there. Like they took everything alligator like out of the park for like almost 2 months, I think it was.
Oh my God, I guess it's sensitive to the family, I guess. That's nice.
Yeah.
But we're living in a pretty sensitive world these days.
I know, and that's why I want to make fucking, like you're saying, like do some shit that's gonna piss some people off, like completely, not even outside the box. But
I don't necessarily want to piss anybody off. I just want to do what I do. You know what I mean? And if someone gets pissed off, they're welcome.
Yeah, I guess that was like the wrong term. For sure.
Yeah. It's like if someone wants to get pissed off, hey, you're welcome to. That's some shit that's going on in your brain.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like as long as you don't throw a rock at me or something, because like I want to make a fucking pipe you can smoke hash out of. That's a dude in a penis costume that's sitting on a park bench smoking a cig after a long day.
Yeah, exactly. So off the penis talk, how about your wood grain stuff? Speaking of wood.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man. So when did you start developing that?
So that one was like when I was in college, like a lot of the stuff that I was doing, like sculptural wise, like involved trying to make the glass look like other stuff. Mm-hmm. So there was this one project I was doing, probably like a couple years in, pretty early into the college, where like I wanted to get wood into the glass. But like I wasn't quite like skilled enough in the glass to like conceive how I would possibly put that pattern in there. So I was trying to paint it on at first, and like I had this through doing that, like I had this idea of like trying to like paint the glass like to look like unstained wood and then stain it with wood stain. Huh. Which is what I ended up doing, and I did like a piece or two that just involved these elements, and I never really like worked on it long enough to super like cleanly like make this technique that I would have wanted to put out, but it just like planted this seed in my head, and then like a few years later, I'm in the studio and like blowing glass, and then I like think about wanting to do it again just because I had like heard about. I think it was some guys up at the Shackman studio were doing some wood grain. And so like I kind of like I think that might have been what like inspired me to try and revisit some of the techniques I was doing, and then I kind of like, you know, got this idea to try and make like a stained polished wood. So that was, you know, I worked for like 3 weeks on like, I probably tried like every brown that there was in the color palette at the time to try and like, you know, mix and match and see what was the best combination to make stained wood.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And that was me stumbling upon it. I really like the aesthetics is cool because like I originally like kind of like got inspired because I was in I think it was like a Lincoln Navigator, and it had like the wood trim on the inside. So I was just like, this is fucking ballin'. I want to see this on a pipe.
Yeah, man, I definitely like that. I've always like when I was doing a lot of like wrap and rake stuff, and I was learning that, and I would then get it down, and I wanted to change it up a little bit. So I was like really adding a shit ton of clear, just weaving all through it and making it crazy, like a marble look, you know. And then like Home and Garden came out with all these do-it-yourself shows and like faux painting and how to make marble effects and like all this different stuff. So I would like watch how they did it in paint and try to like recreate it in my glass just from using a little bit of color and clear, you know, like you're saying. So when you like did like when I remember hearing you saying at the class, like you said you were going to stain it next, like you were thinking about staining it. And I don't want to give away your secrets or tricks, but like, are you actually using like a stain on your glass now?
No, it's just certain colors I use that like give it that stained effect. I just like saying that just because it's like, you know, it's like a wood technique and it makes no sense.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm asking.
It gets people, it gets people confused. So
yeah, I'm like, this is weird. Because what gets me thinking, like, you know, if you can sandblast a piece with like a stenciling of some sort that creates a wood grain, and then you can go back with like a stain and probably stain that shit, you know, to make it look like wood.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you absolutely could, but you can do that with glass too. So it's like, you know,
yeah,
it's just application based. People don't really like smoking lacquer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I know, right? So, how long of a process is that for you to do, like, say, you know, a section on a small tube or something like that?
Well, it's kind of hard to say just because I make them in sort of like per section, which you can probably get a piece or two, like it honestly really depends, but like, you know, they're good like 3-4 hours, you know, per section. Like it takes a long ass time to get that shit really nice, just because like it moves all weird. If you know, it's like if I don't take my time, it just moves really weird. And I like to hand people prep that moves nice. You know what I mean? There's nothing worse than being like, if you're doing a collab, being handed prep that like doesn't move right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when you start adding glass in like different sections. It's like you got to have consistency. So if you want to blow a bubble out, it's going to blow nice and evenly around.
Yeah, totally.
Which I think comes with experience, understanding that kind of property of things. Because I know, like when I first started doing stuff, I'd put like lenses on pieces before I would actually blow it out. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I can't blow this out now. It wasn't, you know, I was just getting those moves down, which I've been using, trying to like explain that term a lot more because I think people are kind of getting into the idea of understanding what it means to make a move in glass and the creation process and knowing what your steps are going to be. And definitely important to know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. So with the encalmo stuff, I mean, the encalmo stuff I've been seeing you doing a lot more lately, and I've seen you do it in the past also, but is it something that has been like a current focus of yours lately, or is it just kind of something you're revisiting?
That's actually one of those, like, that's one of my like pet projects sort of thing. Cause like, that's a pretty old one, like an old design that I've kind of been honing in on like for, I would say at least like 5-6 years ish sort of thing. Like, I started doing them like as just like sections and pieces, like real early on. It was just like, I kind of like, as I figured out how to build them up more and more, like I just like kind of like would take, like I'd probably make like 1 or 2 of those a year at this point, just because they take a really, really, really long time to do. They're extremely tedious and like they like to break for just the way they're set up. So like, it's just like really, really, really like gnarly working with those. But I want to focus on those more just because like I'm kind of like trying to shift my focus onto making like the nicest possible piece I can every time for now on, sort of thing. Just like, to have artistic integrity. Like, I think that's kind of like gonna be like a good focus. So I want to do a lot more of that just because I love that aesthetic so much. It's like my favorite probably that I do. I kind of just like save it for like really special occasions like to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, they're beautiful. I dig them.
Thank you.
When you first started doing your encalmos, did you use like larger sections, like where your encalmos not quite so tight and thin as they are now?
No, they were actually tighter.
No shit.
Yeah, I was just putting them. I just like, instead of making fully stacked pieces, like all in combos, I just like take one or two sections and like put it into something like with those like transparent rainbows, just because like I was all about trying to get light to shine through them like onto the table and make like a very like, at certain angles make like a very classic rainbow shape.
Yeah.
That was kind of like the original intention, and then from there it just went to being like, oh, let's see how many of these I can stack on top of each other and keeping it clean enough for me to like want to keep it,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I think that's what's fun. My favorite part of glass is like the way that light works with it and refractions and reflections, but also like the shadows it can create, or like you're saying, like the image on a tabletop or something that can create. Like, I'm sure you've seen that MIT video, those guys that made, the fucking printing the glass and making those crazy shapes they were doing. And then
I have not actually.
Oh, really, dude? Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'll send you a link. Yeah, so MIT,
Okay, cool.
they created a glass printer. I mean, literally, and they have like this
Seen that. I've seen the glass printer for sure. That thing's fucking tight.
Right,
It's probably the same. It's probably the same thing.
Yeah, totally. And you saw like those like kind of blobs of shapes they were making. Like, it was almost like a stitch work or a coil pot. It was just an interesting kind of pattern.
Yes.
And then they would like shine the light through it at different angles, and just like the light on the table that it made off those reflections of all that crazy shape was just amazing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean that's like the fundamental like distinguishing factor of glass amongst any other like material in the artistic world, in my opinion, is like the translucence. You know what I mean? You rarely get that. You rarely get that with anything else. I guess you get it with acrylic, whatever. But it's just like glass is naturally translucent. Wood is not. Metal is not. You know what I mean? Fabric is not. So it's like, it's really cool to like focus on that for like a body of work, and just like really be like, how can I just use this object that I'm creating to like make light like a focal point, and have people like sit there and look at light shining through my object, which is like a really cool thing to think about. Like, if you think about it from like a cosmic perspective, like if I was like an ET and I was like looking, looking through the window at like some humans like looking at like light shining through a piece, I'd be extremely fascinated by that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just, like,
totally.
That action.
Well, it reminds me of when I was like in early 20s in my experimental days, and having the lava lamp in the house, and like, you sit there and just stare at the lava lamp. But then one day I laid on my floor and looked at my ceiling and what the lava lamp was creating on the ceiling. And I'm like, oh, these things weren't made to look at. They're made to look at the fucking light on the ceiling that they're making, like this crazy trippy ass fucking thing going on here.
Yeah.
And it totally changed my whole perspective on lava lamps. Like, it gave me a whole different respect for what they were doing. Because, I mean, obviously, they look pretty cool when they're bubbling and shit. But when you look at what it's making on the ceiling with the shadows and lights and reflections, it's like, I don't know if that was intentionally done that way, but it worked out.
But you figured it out?
Yeah, it worked out, man. Yeah, couple sheets of paper, I was good to go,
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I think at that point in time, everything looks pretty cool, but, especially the lava lamps. Yeah, it's funny too. Speaking of lava lamps, so like, the whole trademark copyright name of that is a lava lamp. I always thought it was a thing, as our boy out there that made the lava lamps, quote unquote. And we all find out now is through our glass, and as our community grows, that people are paying attention to our shit now, and we got to make sure we're making what we're making isn't gonna get us in trouble. Which
I mean, they're like too good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, lava lamps, like, this dude's balling out too hard.
Yeah, you got to call them something different, bubbly something, psychedelic lamps or some shit. Oh, it's weird. But I guess at the same time, it makes us, our community, even like the guys and gals underneath us now that are coming up, have to pay attention to this shit. Because, again, as this community grows, man, companies are paying attention, and they're looking on Instagrams and all the social media stuff and seeing what's being made. And you got to really know what you're doing before you start creating someone else's work,
Yeah, totally. Like, and it's funny because that's so applicable to the whole balloon dog thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. And until I get a cease and desist letter, I guess I'm good to go.
Yeah, I think you're good to go, man. I don't see there being any issue ever. And if
No,
anything,
there won't be, because it's not like I'm sitting here being like, I'm making this dude's piece, which I'm really like, I am to a certain degree, but I really don't feel like I am, like, just because like that's not the point. The point is like using the image to like a balloon dog, like in reference to like that being the like, you know, this like extremely like expensive like art piece. You know, those things go for $55 million, those massive balloon dog sculptures.
holy shit.
So, yeah. So it's like, or maybe more, I don't know. But so it's like, it's more of like a symbol, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
trying to like, it's you know, Banksy has used the balloon dog in one of his pieces, you know, just in reference to like art. It's just like, and I think it's funny, like taking this like supposed like serious like art symbol and like making it a pipe. To me, like that like almost defaces it, like not so much in our eyes but in their eyes.
Yeah.
Which is cool. You know, I don't think you know, Jeff Koons will ever see that. If he does, that'd be funny, but I don't think it'll ever see, you know, make it.
Yeah,
to him,
if anything, you'll understand that he has recognized your work.
Yeah, I mean that would be cool, but you know, I wouldn't hold my breath on that one.
Yeah, yeah. Much less when I have to deal with that fucking headache. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know,
Yeah,
it's fun.
yeah.
It's fun too. Like you're saying, like you're taking this inanimate object of some sort, and it's becoming a ceremonial piece too for people.
Yeah, I love that too. I mean, the people, like, I get so many messages from people just like telling me how much they like love this object I make, which to me is like, it's really special to hear that. You know what I mean? Like, just,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
So when it comes to pricing your work, and I'm not going to ask you to tell your prices, but like when it comes to you trying to like figure out, you know, what you're going to sell your stuff for, like, is it a trial and error, you know, kind of thing for you, like feeling out the market, or do you just like set a price and these are what these going to cost based on material costs and time it takes to make them?
Yeah, I honestly, I usually try to be as fair about it as possible, and the way I've figured that out is just to like figure out the materials, and then just like I have like I pretty much have like a time, you know, timing like per day, or you know, like whole day and half day sort of thing. I try to figure out how many days I've put into a piece, and then, you know, kind of work from there. I hope that that's like the most fair way to do it. You know, with the dogs, it got to a point where like they were so, you know, with the old design, I had a team helping me make those. You know, I was doing the majority of the work, but like, you know, we were streamlining those out, and so like that was the sort of thing where I just had to figure out what it costed to get everybody, including myself, paid. You know, to get it right.
Yeah, man, that's actually a great transition because that was my next question for you. Like in terms of like having apprentices and people under you as a team working, making your stuff. Like you obviously have done that. So, had you like at what point in your career did you start bringing other people on?
Well, so like it's kind of a funny story, but like my original assistant, who was with me for a good couple of years, he like I pretty much like I flipped my car. I used to live on a mountain, and like right outside Boulder, and I like flipped my car one night, like on some ice. Like I was going down to the supermarket because I had this girl coming up to the house for a date, and I wanted to impress her and make falafel. So I was like running down to the supermarket to go get falafel mix, and I hit a patch of ice, and fucking like there's this oncoming car coming in the other lane, so I had to swerve pretty much like into the side, like where the rock was, and I just like so happened to like hit this like little bank. My car just like I had like slowed down enough to where it wasn't like that bad or anything, but my car just like hit this bank and flipped over, and I was like I just like climbed out and like called the police. But so like yeah, so like I didn't have a car for like a good like year or something. So like my original assistant just started like driving me everywhere at first, and then just like helping me out with all my shit, because like he just had a little bit of time on his hands, and we were homies, and we just like we just like talk, have super deep conversations like while we were doing all this shit. And then he just like I started paying him just to make it like realistic. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then it got to the point where he was helping me with glass stuff because he was already a glass blower. And it worked out from there. Like, and then, with him helping me, I was able to take the business to a point where we had like a whole buttload of the like old design of the balloon dog to make. So like he started helping me, and these other two dudes in my studio, like at different times, started helping me too, just like making the parts and stuff because it's like a bunch of the same part
Mhm.
that goes into that old design.
Yeah, I think that, some people don't like that concept of having other people make your work for you. And it's not like they're making your work for you because you're involved in the process, But I think as you grow as a business, if you want to take this shit seriously and make a living and actually be able to retire at some point, if, not really retire, but, have a fucking good life. If you're sick, you can help pay your shit, that you got to be able to scale your business. You got to be able to bring people on to help you make your stuff, especially if you have a demand for your work too. And then I guess before that, you got to find something that's going to have a demand. But
Yeah, well, that's what it was like I just really wanted to meet the demand, like both to get to get my name out there to build like a sustainable business, like you're talking about, but also just because like people really seem to enjoy them, and I didn't want to like let any shop down, like I didn't want any shop to think like I was taking priority over any shop, which like now I start to realize it's hard because you kind of have to be a little picky and choosy about who you work with sometimes, and I just didn't, I kind of learned the hard way with that one.
yeah,
But
man. No, well, that's good that you're talking about that because I think it's important to understand that. Like at first, when you get started, I'm not saying undersell your shit, but you definitely want to go out there and just feel out wherever you're at, all the different shops, mom and pops, the big, bigger places. And then you get to a point where you're established like 5 years down the road or so, where you can then become picky with who you establish yourself with and who you're having your glass being carried by. Because it's it goes along with reputation with your work. It's like I've always heard like the story of someone taking a Maserati and having a car show at a Holiday Inn, where that car may not sell for what it's worth because it's at a fucking Holiday Inn. But if they go to like some of the Mirage or somewhere out in Vegas and they're selling it there, they may actually get more for the car than what it's worth because of the location. So it's an interesting dynamic to deal with in business and in sales and in marketing. Which again, a lot of glass artists don't like even talking about that shit because they want to just focus on just being an artist, which is fine. I respect that 100%.
yeah, well, that's kind of where I'm starting to like want to take that side of the art business.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a couple other things I'm working on, but like with that business, I really like to not focus on the business aspect, just because like you have like when I deal with people, I like to be as personable as possible. But like at this point, I have you have to deal with so many people wanting so many different things, and usually like just wanting to talk like on the daily basis, and it's like there's always so many hours in the day, and it's hard to like it's hard to be personable with every like 19 to 23-year-old who hits you up like wanting to talk about a custom that they're never going to buy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally.
Like, but at the same time, they're people too. So you want to give them the respect they deserve. But there's just like, it's a fine line to how much energy you can put towards like making everybody happy, which sucks. That's like kind of the bummer for me, is just like not being able to like be like myself with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Something I've learned in that because I got a lot of that too. Like with the custom stuff, people hit me up and I always at the very beginning, if someone asks if I do commission work, I immediately I have an Evernote app that I use. I don't know if you use Evernote or not, but it's great for like note taking and stuff. And I've created a response to that basically is like my breakdown of how I work the custom things out. This is what I require, blah 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 blah, just to get that shit out of the way. Because 9 times out of 10, if they see that, they either A, can't afford your work, or B, they don't want to go that route. It kind of cuts off the conversation right away. And then there's the one,
yeah. I mean, I was doing that too for a while when I was open to potentially doing custom stuff. Now I'm not so much, unless it's like someone who knows how to get at me in a certain way to like you know.
Yeah, totally.
But it's like, yeah, but like I just found like, you know, you get someone send you a long-winded message, you send something like that back, and then they don't even respond, which is like kind of a bummer in itself. Or it's just like, okay, like so like you waste, all right, like, right, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you don't know even if they got. Well, see, that's what's fucked up. Like, I wish, and I'm sure there exists, and I just haven't found it. But there's got to be some kind of platform app or something where we can take all of our messaging services and have it on one fucking thing, so we can know when we're getting messages. Because I get people all the time. They're like, "Dude, I didn't see your message, and it was like 2 months ago." You know, like I'll even go on like a picture that they posted and like make a comment or like it or something like that. You know, just to kind of give them a heads up, like I'm trying to get a hold of them, or I responded. Because there's nothing worse than being left in limbo. Like, yeah, man, I'm ready to make a deposit, and then you don't hear back from them, and you're like, okay, do I need to put time aside for you? What the fuck's going on? You know, it's an interesting kind of thing. Not to be a dick about it, you know, but try to like, you know, I got my time's my time too, you know.
yeah, I mean, at this point, it makes it so much easier just to like not really have to deal with that and just like be like, okay, like go hit up like your shop and like have your shop hit me up like if you really want something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, just because like at this point, like especially the way the market's been going this year, like the shops and the artists really have to band together as much as possible. And I've been having kind of, you know, I feel like a lot of glass artists have been having trouble with that, but that'll certainly shift as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious myself how that's going to go. Because like last year and a half ago, we created a site for myself. It was called Build Your Own Wise Guy, where people can go on there and actually customize their own little pieces. And just with like a basic platform, they would just add the different colored wings and brows and whatever, you know, and it would add up a total for them, you know, type of deal, just to kind of help ease my side of people wanting custom work. But then I was thinking too, like, fuck, if I get like 100 people doing this, I'm gonna be booked for like the next 6 months making customs, which I don't necessarily want that.
Yeah.
You know, so but that being said, it's kind of interesting to see where our industry is going, because it's so heavy right now on the direct to customer, from artist to customer, you know, the collector kind of deal, where like some of these smoke shops that are out there that have been in our industry for 20 years are getting a little hurt about it, or maybe even losing business because of that. They're being left out of the circle, the loop, and I don't know. It's weird, man. Like I feel bad about it, but then I don't. You know, it's kind of
that it definitely like it's just like a two-way street, because it's just like everybody has to eat, and it's like, you know, if an artist isn't getting their sales from a shop, they're gonna need to go to you know, direct. But on the flip side, like a lot of shops won't want to, you know, work with artists who do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's weird, and then like, you know, people like, it's so weird with the internet, because it's like you see something once, like, you know, and then you gather this opinion about a shop or an artist or whatever, and then like, and then that dictates like, you know, whether you do business with them or whatever, like, it's just so weird. That's why like it's really good, like these art shows that you know, the artists and like galleries are throwing is really awesome, and the trade shows is really awesome, because it's like encouraging people to get up and get out and like go meet the artists and collectors and shop owners and gallery owners, like, and go see the work in person, not just like live vicariously, like live like digitally vicariously, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Which is extremely important, because I feel like the people who I like working with most are the people who I like have hung out with and know in person, not just like, oh yeah, like I meet them in person once, and it's like, oh yeah, like who are you, like, and they say their Instagram name and you know them,
Yeah,
like then you know who they are. You know, I'm not really into that whole like cyber I mean, the cyber connection's cool, but only to kindle the, like, you know, a real like human connection sort of thing, which is like, to me, one of the most beautiful aspects of our business is just like how much of that like perpetuates the business, like just people being friends and people wanting to like help each other out, and people like being together and like getting each other inspired enough to like do cool shit, you know?
Yeah, dude, it's beautiful, brother. I mean, that was one of my catalysts for getting this show started, was to be able to share these kind of talks and these stories about this, because it's like we're all a community, and to have someone who's listening to this right now, even though we're recording this, but when this goes out, you know, they're out there torch or in their car listening to us talking about this stuff, and they're getting inspired, thinking up ideas about shit, and understanding that we're talking about glass and they're thinking about glass, and it's like this cool common bond. But it's like someone gets hurt, like when Bear Claw fucked his hand all up real bad, and like the whole community like went out and rushed out and like was helping him out with his medical bills, and I mean they see it happen all the time. Someone gets their shit stolen out of their studio, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, there's $10,000 have been raised to buy this person a new setup. It's fascinating to see that in an art industry like we have.
Yeah, well, it's really reminiscent of like the whole skateboarding scene to me, like,
yeah,
and just like how like it's just a bunch of friends doing like the only thing they really like could to like have fun and survive, and like using that to perpetuate like cool shit,
Yeah,
and
totally.
like a little and like a little bit of success,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I definitely myself personally, and then also with guests I've had on here, make that reference a lot with the skateboarding community and how there were these bad guy, rebel, druggy, whatever offenders of the law, and now you got fucking X Games on ESPN,
Yeah, exactly. Which is like, it makes me really interested to see like where this shit's gonna go in the next 25 years.
Yeah, that's why I started this podcast too, because I enjoyed like the production media side of things. So
Yeah.
I have a couple projects myself that I'm starting next year that are gonna, I hope, will grow into some kind of form of something that's gonna help get this out even more, not necessarily mainstream, because I don't know if a lot of us want that necessarily. I mean, we may, sure, I don't know, but it's still, I still think like the way that the laws are changing in the cannabis world, and also that the way that the people or perspective on cannabis is changing also, is going to help them change their perspective on the guys that are making and gals making pipes and stuff. We're not just these rebels, anarchists,
Yeah, totally. I mean, I definitely smoke my fair share of weed, but I'm not such a bad guy,
Yeah, dude, I think you're pretty cool. Hell yeah.
Thanks. Hopefully, society thinks so too.
Well, you're selling your glass, dude, and you just did a class. I think so. I think it's going pretty good for you.
I can't complain.
Yeah, man. Isn't it amazing, right? Like I get up every day, I'm just like, God, I'm just blessed.
Yeah, for real. Because I was like, I faced a lot of like adversity in like, the idea that just like coming up in like the like typical like American academic setting, like I was deemed like I was diagnosed with ADD, like deemed like learning disabled at a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like and like just being put on like a grading scale where like I feel like I'm surrounded by a bunch of dum-dums who are getting better scores or grades than me. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, totally.
That was challenging for me, especially having like there's like a side of my family that's like a little more pretentious and like was not so supportive of the glass thing, which like I never really listened to them, so it didn't really matter. But like it's just like having that voice in the back of your head where it's like your potential isn't like grading up to the potential of these other people because this is what they do. Like having to deal with that for a long time sucked. You know what I mean? Especially feeling special. You know what I mean? Like everybody should feel special in their own respect. That was one thing that like it's like I needed that, and like that's the cool fucking thing about glass is like that once I was able to take that to like even like an accredited academic setting, like, and it was something that I could excel at and show people how well I could do at, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was something that's really good, and like I encourage like anybody to find that feeling for themselves, whether it's through glass or not, like any way possible.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. You sound very much like my path. Like I was the same way. Like I've even just like the last 3 years ago, I was re-diagnosed with ADD as an adult. and been there, done that, like, sitting in class staring off into space because I already knew all the shit they were talking about and I was bored. So like, okay, what's the fucking next? And then they're like, oh, what's wrong with this kid? Kind of thing.
Yeah, but then it's like the people who are telling you that, what's their solution?
Exactly.
To give you fucking speed. Like
Right.
I'll admit I've taken that shit. Like that shit gets you fucked up. shit gets you jacked up, and it gets you thinking not in constructive ways. You know what I mean? So it's like they're trying to get you all hopped up on some shit that doesn't get you doing anything any better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that was one thing my mom definitely stayed away from. It was medicating me as a kid, and then that's when I came across cannabis, and that was like, for me, that was like my little lifesaver for helping keep me focused, even though I, still, whatever. But
same. I mean, like it got to a point with us, like, because I was going to this Jewish private school back home. That was like it was a really awesome school, but like it got to a point where like I pretty much had to be medicated, or else I wasn't going to be able to go to the school anymore. Just because, like, I was probably a hyper ass little motherfucker, but like. So like they got me all up on them drugs, and like cannabis got me off that, like weed got me off that shit, like early high school, which was like a fucking lifesaver.
Yeah, it's huge, right? And
because that stuff's like the amphetamines that and like the drugs that prescribe for the ADD and ADHD is fucking garbage, man. Like it's just awful for your liver, awful for your brain, and it caused it to me, like what I noticed the effects with me was like it caused brain damage that like it took a lot of time and energy to recenter myself and become like rebalanced to a point where it was like it's like you're not excelling taking taking these drugs. You just fucking are like off, like taking energy from like the future that you're gonna have to like reapply to like rebalance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think too, like, man, I'm not sure your case, but I know in my case, like when I got into the glass, it was like the one thing where I had to focus on it, otherwise I was gonna fuck myself up. And
totally.
And by having that focus, I mean, you know how it is to get like as having ADD and having like hyper focus. To where like you get out of a piece or something that you're super hyper focused on, whether it's your homework or whatever, but you're exhausted for like 3 or 4 hours from it, so I've had to learn how to like balance that part of the side of my creativity to like understand, okay, I need to walk away right now or my day is gonna be shot.
Oh, for real, I still battle with that though too, like being like, okay, if I don't quit now, I'm gonna fuck up like 3 days of work. Like
yeah, the worst is when you got to pee or you're starving or whatever, and it's like you keep telling yourself, okay, I'm going to stop, next step. 3 hours later, you're like even hungrier and you got to piss yourself because you haven't walked away from the torch yet.
Yeah, and you're like, and then you're like 20 minutes into like trying to fix some shit you just did.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you weren't thinking straight.
Yep, that's how it was last night. I was like, I'm going home. I'm done. I tapped out and came home, because I was going to stay till like 2 a.m. at the shop, and I was like out of there at 12:30. Because I was in the same boat, just all over the fucking place. So, yeah, buddy.
Yo.
So I guess what I want to transition to real quick, just kind of, I don't want to go too crazy with it, but really is like the discussion of here we are, it's the end of the year, we're winding down 2016, which is just, to me, is fucking crazy. It's already the end of 2016. And
I know, right?
Yeah, like I'm gonna be 40 in 4 days.
Damn.
Something like that. Yeah, dude, it's fucking crazy. I don't.
Have you started looking into your where you're gonna retire in Florida yet?
No, I'm thinking like some mountain in Colorado though.
Nice. That's not like Boca.
No, if we did anywhere in Florida, we'd probably go down to like Marathon or something like that in the Keys.
Nice.
But I'm thinking more like St. Thomas or somewhere in the Virgin Islands if I'm going to stay in this kind of environment.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, my sister-in-law's from St. Thomas, actually.
Yeah, we went down there for a honeymoon a couple years back, man. I fell in love with the place.
Tight.
Yeah, it's pretty good shit. But
yeah, I know. I've never been. I want to go.
Dude, if you'd be amazed on how affordable it is to get an all-inclusive resort for like a week down there. I mean, I'm talking everything. Like, I probably drank $2,000 worth of liquor while we were there for the week.
Nice. And if that's cheap, the way I like to roll, Oh, good. I usually like to find the like most sketchy situation possible and just throw myself in head first and see what happens.
Yeah, bro, they are everywhere down there. You'll have a blast. That's what we did. Let's go meet the
Nice.
locals and get involved in the, like actually learn the people there instead of just being stuck behind a fence at a resort.
Gotta learn how to not get cut up.
Yeah, pretty much. Even though the area down there, from what we found, I mean, I'm sure there probably is some bad shit, but everybody was like, if you didn't say good morning to them after they said good morning to you, they looked at you crazy. Like everybody was super friendly. It was pretty cool environment. But man, I'm so off topic. So the whole premise though is like here we are winding down, and a lot of people at this time of year like to just like put it, pedal to the metal, full speed ahead, when really we got to start thinking about slowing the shit down so we can reflect and review on this last year and then gear up for what's going to be coming for next year and planning out. And
Yeah, totally.
and it sounds like you've been kind of doing that yourself, like you're starting to gear yourself up for 2017, 2018 probably also, because I'm sure a series is going to bleed in, a couple years down the road. So, like, what do you do for
Yeah.
yourself for preparation? Like, is it like a year-long process for you of always constantly thinking and growing, or is it just like, do you have like...
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, this is for me a whole new thing. It's like a whole brand new experience. So I don't really know. It's gonna be like a flow. I'm just gonna have to go with. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, cause like I'm gonna be like kind of working by myself for a while and really just trying to focus on like ideas that I've had over the past like 10 years of sketchbooks. Just like taking those images and then like refining them into sculptural form, which is like it's tough in itself because like for me what I've been doing to prep for that is a lot of like like experimental sculptural stuff, like practicing with like small elements that like just making sure that they don't look like what other people are doing, trying to develop unique ways of doing stuff, like say applying an eye or like just making a face, you don't want, or like making any sort of like aspect of like a sculpture. You don't want like your hands to look like someone else's hands. That'd be a bummer,
Mhm.
So it's like, but we're also influenced by each other, and a lot of the techniques are like based off very simple, being as like simple and as clean as possible, that like stuff's gonna come out like similar. So it's like for me the biggest part of my experimenting is like figuring out like simple obvious techniques that just like don't look like other very like ingenious like simple obvious techniques that just like look really fucking good,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. Definitely get that. I find like a lot of folks I'm talking to in the industry right now are kind of in that same boat where they're like, they've gotten to a point where they've become successful, in their own mind, in their ways, even financially wise, to where they can now afford, in a sense, to sit and work on a body of work that they've been wanting to do for the last 10 years or whatever. But it seems like it takes, it really does take that time to get to that point to where you can't just like, I mean, I'm not saying you can't, because there's people out there that do it and are successful from the get-go. But generally speaking, once you learn your medium, like glass, which is such a fucked up medium that we all chose to work with, we can learn it, and now we can take these visions we've had for years. I get them. I got the same way, dude. I got sketchbook upon sketchbook of stuff I've been wanting to make for years. Like I have a whole series of characters I'm gonna start making next year that I've been drawing since I was like 6 years old. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. And
I'm
I
fucking
feel like
pumped.
we yeah, totally. We all have that, and it's like it's time. And like for me, it's like I'm like using every last resource I have to try and make that happen. Which like I'll hope in the end that like with the output like that it is appreciated. But like ultimately, it's just because like that's like what I do. It's like a compulsion. You know what I mean? I can't really like focus on doing anything else anymore besides like surfing or snowboarding, and that
Yeah.
that ain't gonna pay the bills. So it's like if I can do something that I fucking like need to do anyways, and like hopefully it'll like pay the bills, like that'll that's good.
Yeah, man, and especially nowadays, like you're saying before, with the shops and the galleries and stuff that are doing these shows. Like, did you have stuff in the Heater show this year that just passed?
No, I didn't, but I definitely went and supported because like I love all those guys. They're all really really good homies, and they're like my favorite crew. Do like the way they do stuff together. So that was really exciting, you know.
Yeah, they're a great example of how this industry is put together as a community for sure. Even if they don't
I
all live together, you know.
Yeah, I think they kind of like they for me at least they set the example. You know, they're just all really smart individuals, and they're all really good at just like doing their own thing without giving a fuck, which is to me like a really good example for everybody of how to like be a good artist. You know.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. And also they bounce off each other. I mean, shit, you look at Everdream and you know the caliber of artists that are inside that place. It's no wonder they're all as successful as they are, just because not you know you bring one person in that's got some talent, it can inspire an entire fucking building.
Yeah, and then you take six equally talented people and put them together, and that's just like a recipe for fucking greatness, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it is greatness. I mean, that the word "great" is thrown around a lot in the world nowadays. It's like third place trophies and shit, but you know, they definitely have this caliber of creativity and cleanliness and detail in their work, individually and together, and they work together. It's like, you know, I always love with like when Joe P and Elbow work together because like they have such different styles in their work, and then they come together, and you can tell their work together. You can tell their work separately, but you know, just to see like to how it can come together and have, I guess kind of like a backup on it. Like in the glass world, it seems like we're one of the only mediums out there where a true collaboration can happen, where you can really see individual techniques being done by each artist. You know, you're not just, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's like a rap, it's like hip hop too. You know what I mean? I
Right.
like to associate the two, and I mean going back to like Joey and Elbow, like they like especially like them and like that whole crew. You know, I feel like they inspired so many people to work like that too. You know, a lot of people do and have done what they did because of what like those cats did.
Yeah.
Which to me is profound. It's like when you can do something and touch so many people, and then they go and do something and touch more people, like that's just really awesome. And it's like just like inspiring people to do inspiring things is an extremely like profound thing in my opinion, just from like a like human standpoint.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree. And I think too, they said they got the standard of total human optimization in a sense of like understanding what you're good at. You focus on that one thing and you kick ass at it and you make a good living at it. And then you take that living that you've made and you help the world out, you know, and whether it's monetarily or just inspiring it through your artwork. And, you know, it makes waves across the world. I mean, I've heard all about Joe P and his brother, like doing all this charity work and shit, like, you know, and traveling around the world and helping out small villages and stuff. It's like, you know, it's just too fucking cool. And it sucks that this industry gets this kind of stamina kind of bullshit against it. You know, people think it's a negative thing, but when they really dig down, find what's going on inside the stories, which is, again, why I want to do this podcast. I want to get these stories out there. Because you know, we're not a bunch of a-holes, you know, out murdering people, smoking crack all day. We're actually artists creating what's something we love to do.
Yeah, I mean, just everybody needs something to be good at. You know what I mean? Like, and like, if you're lucky enough to find glass, like that's a blessing in itself, and that trumps like anything anybody has to say about it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally agree, man. Hell yeah, dude. Well, that being said, I think right now is a good time for us to take a quick break and thank our sponsors, and then we'll come back and it'll be time for us to crash the kiln.
Cool.
This segment is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts and Wise Guy Radio. For the entire month of December 2016, Mountain Glass is offering an exclusive discount just for you, 35% off North Star First Quality Rods. This sale excludes Illuminati, Lucy, and Wonder Bars. Just use the code WNS at checkout to receive your 35% off. That's WNS at checkout. And thank you from all of us at Wise Guy Radio and Mountain Glass Arts, and hope you have a safe and wonderful holiday. All right, we're back. And I'm sure you probably crashed your kiln many times back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first come up with a name for this, instead of like the lightning round, I'm like, what can I call this thing that we've all done that we shouldn't do, but we do it anyway? So I'm like, and it's also a quick thing, you know, so that's what came to be.
So let's crash the kiln.
Yeah, buddy. So the Crash and the Killing round consists of 7 questions, and I counted them the other day, and it was 7, so hopefully I don't miss one. I never know how many number of questions there are. But if you want to give me a 30 to 60-second answer on them, and you can also expound upon the answers as well, like everybody does. And the first question I always like to ask is if there is any living glass artist that you had not yet worked with, who is it and why?
It would have to be Banjo, just because I am not worthy. But Banjo's the ultimate inspiration for me, just like as a human being in all facets. Like he's just kind and amazing and a really awesome dad, and obviously just like one of the best glass workers ever to walk the earth,
Right.
in my opinion. Like I could say nothing more than like I am not worthy.
Yeah.
That dude's just really he's got it figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. What are your top 5 favorite colors in glass?
Well, I really like chartreuse crayon. That's just like a super beautiful color. Definitely like I really like the new transparent stuff, honestly. Like I love tonic and raindrop, and the blue dream is honestly nice now. The sublime or haterade, lemon drop, like all those transparent colors I really love.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, man, it reminds me back in the day when Chris Carlson, when he was going by LA Glass, like just like 15, 20 years ago almost now. And he was doing a series of work. It was all reversals and wigwags and shit, but he would like do some line tube and then like encase it in some bunch of clear and then pull it down and then do that a couple times. So it was almost like completely ghost colors. And
oh yeah, totally. He put some. I mean, I've seen he put some stuff out like that under like the Chris Carlson too. That was super badass.
Yeah, I love that shit.
I believe he's amazing, man. That dude's a fucking wizard.
Yeah, he's been an inspiration in my work from like probably day one, I'd say, when I got into the scene.
Yeah,
sure.
same, 100%.
Yeah, it's good shit. So if you could describe the sound of glass cracking in one word, whether it's like an emotional response or just kind of a, I guess, I don't know, visceral maybe, what word would it be?
Shit!
Perfect. What's your worst injury in the studio?
I have two that really stick out.
Yeah.
One was I'll do them in sequence of when they happened. One was like a week before my some finals, when I think I was like a sophomore or junior in college, and I was getting all these projects done for my final critiques because they have like, you do mini shows like instead of like tests, in art school, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take this like glass rocket ship that I made off a handle, and I was going to snap it off, and the handle broke weird and just like snapped across my middle finger and just sliced it like 2/3 of the way up. And I'm like looking at the line right now, and it's still there. Like, how your finger has like 3 like segments.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at how they're broken up, like 2 of them are straight sliced. It was fucked up.
Did you find
and
it? Oh, go on.
And then the second one was like, it was the first time I had ever gotten in like a major fight with like my girlfriend at the time. We had been dating for like a year or 2 at that point, and we had never fought. And then we just got in this really stupid fight over something. And so I just pieced out of the house and went to the studio, and I was pulling points for like prep for the next day. And so I pulled a point on a tube and then put it down, and then thought like something negative for a second, and then just picked it back up super hot, like a whole tube of 25 with my hand, and my whole hand burned from the pad of my hand, and pretty much all of the pads of your hand, anywhere where you would squeeze around a tube, just completely burned. You can still kind of see, if you look at it right in the light, you can still kind of see it.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. I hate that shit. It's kind of funny though, like you're saying, you go to the studio all pissed off, and then you think one negative thought because you're in there trying to blow some steam off and like get your head together, but really it's like the worst thing you could fucking do. It's like getting in a car and driving after getting in a fight with somebody like that. It's
Yeah, well, luckily I could like skate. I like skated to the studio, but yeah, it was like same shit.
Yeah. With your finger slice, do you find any like long-term effects you've had from that?
I don't know, like not really yet. It's always been kind of like it won't go straight because like I was like dumb and like I pretty much like after I got the stitches, I like waited like a day or two and then I just like I covered my finger in super glue like over the stitches because the stitches were just supposed to dissolve. Yeah, I know, it was fucking retarded. And then I went back to work so I could finish all my projects. My teachers were like, no, like they were trying to like work shit out where like I would like do work over the summer, but like I didn't want to stay in the city for the summer. I wanted to go back to the beach where I grew up.
Right.
So it was like, being a crazy ass 20-year-old, I was just like, fuck this. I was like, no, fuck this. I'm going to get all my projects done. And I like probably like all my teachers probably thought I half-assed all my shit. And I probably thought I crushed it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I got everything done. And then like if I'm not mistaken, that summer, like they built this like steel wall like out on the block, out on like my block on the beach where my house is, and like the like waves turned up really sick all summer. Which like on the East Coast, I don't know if you surf at all, like it's like pretty fickle. Like it doesn't just like the waves aren't good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You can only get them at some times. But it was literally like every day. Like me and all my homies like from the neighborhood were just getting turned up like out there.
That's awesome.
It was fucking awesome.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I grew up on the beach, but I'm on the west coast of Florida. So, I mean, we're out here. And,
yeah.
We get waves when we have like a tropical storm come through or a cold front, But I say waves, I mean like maybe chest high, maybe, if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
But I know growing up, dude, I was always, every day I'd call a surfing report to see what the fuck was going on, just to check in. So, but
Yeah.
I got into windsurfing and shit when I was in my late teens into my 20s. That was kind of our deal we had here. And now kite surfing's a pretty big thing going on now around here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. I've seen that. Those dudes would sometimes like ride across and like cut into waves we were on. We'd get all pissed off, but now we're all friends.
I've been seeing people doing that now in the snow too, huh? Do you guys have that in Colorado, like kite surfing?
I haven't seen that. Yeah, but that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell I saw it on. Oh, maybe it was like one of those things like where the guys were base jumping, and they would like base jump, and then they would like land on the snow, and then like start snowboarding or skiing, and then like jump off a cliff, and their kite or their sail would come back out. It was something crazy like that.
Oh yeah, I've seen some dude doing that with a parachute. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah, people are fucking crazy.
Yes.
Comes out to it. So when you're in the studio, do you watch TV, listen to the radio, or do you do both?
No, I never really watch anything just because like I it's like you were saying with drive. It's like kind of like driving for me. Like I have this funny thing where like I used to say to my assistant when like he'd like like unconsciously like not be conscious about bugging me, like asking me some shit while I was on the torch. I'd be like, no talking to the driver. So I feel like the whole TV thing for me at least is just not. It's a little distracting. Like much respect to anybody who can pull it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But music for the most part is an absolute must. Just because like music like dictates like a huge part of my existence. Like I love sound and I love music.
Hell yeah,
a lot. And I like having music like be part of the media of my piece. Like if I get a chance to meet people that buy specific pieces of mine and I know kind of like what the tunes I was like jamming to while I was listening to that piece, I like make sure to like pass it along so they can like jam those tunes while they like take rips out of the piece.
Dude, I do the same shit, man. That's fucking awesome. I've actually wanted to do a whole series that was based on what I was listening to. Like I would call it that song or something like that. Yeah, totally. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, I tried with one piece to like put together a mixtape of like what I listened to while
that's cool
while I made the piece, but like I couldn't get my act together just because like fucking with my phone at a certain point became a pain in the ass while I was trying to work.
Right. Yeah, but still, man, that's fun. That's a fun idea. Well, nowadays it's so easy to fucking record shit. It's just ridiculous. Probably be a lot easier
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's how it should be. Like giving people the opportunity to express themselves and get feedback.
Yeah.
And, like spread information. It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, totally. Give them some kind of peeks behind the curtain in a sense.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. It's just it opens. It's just part of kind of like we were talking about earlier. It just opens that connection, the like human connection, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hell yeah. So, do you have any glass blowing themed tattoos?
Yes, I do actually. I have a balloon dog on my arm.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I figured at a certain point I just owed that image like some respect, and it had just like the balloon dog has just kind of like opened up a lot of like opportunity and movement in my life. So it's like I definitely wear that one as like a badge of like lifetime achievement,
Yeah, definitely. That's what my tats are all. They're all like timelines of my life.
Yeah, totally. They're like, I feel like they tell my battle stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately, I only have 2, so I guess I'm kind of a shitty warrior. but I'm working on it.
Yeah, you're still young, man. You got plenty of time.
Oh yeah. I keep telling my mom both my arms are going to be covered by the time I'm like 35. It's hard to find the time to fucking get that shit done and stay out of the studio.
Yeah, and then stay out of the studio for a little bit afterwards because you've gotten tattoo work done and it shit hurts the next day or two because you're stiff and it's like a bad sunburn.
Yeah, and you're supposed to be responsible about taking care of that kind of thing, and when it's permanent, I guess you should kind of,
Yeah, exactly.
take care of it.
Hell yeah. Cool, man. Well, my last question I like to ask, and I'm still working this one out, so bear with me here. But if you were stranded on a desert island and there was a glass blowing studio on there that had your kiln, your torch, and your gases, and I've now thrown in glasses also because everybody forgets to say glasses.
What about it? What about AC? I mean, come on.
I don't know, man. I've been blowing glass in my own home studios without AC for a long time, so.
Well, all right.
You have to generate your own somehow.
I would figure that out.
Well, I'm sure too.
Sustainably.
If you're on an island, I'm sure there's probably a decent breeze blowing. Even though I've been like 50 miles offshore, dude, and it's been dead fucking calm. So,
okay,
whatever. It's weird weather.
All right.
So, but yeah,
I
man.
dig it.
So you got all these things. You got your gases, your torch, your glasses, and your kiln now ready to go. And you had to make something to survive. What 5 items would you bring? And in terms of items, you can bring a pallet of glass, like that kind of shit. But you can only get five things.
Oh, you mean like what glass supplies?
Or just tools? Just what 5 things would you bring to be able to make said whatever it is that you need to make to survive?
Oh, wow. Well, I would probably say just some tube, in terms of glass, just some like 50 mil tube, just because like I could pull it down to whatever else I would ever need, even like ground joints and stuff. And then I would bring my lighter so I could light my torch, and then my tweezers, probably a graphite paddle. So that's 4 things, right?
Yep.
So I get one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, probably some ganja.
There you go.
Some ganja seeds.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been debating on turning this question into like your 5 favorite tools, kind of thing. Because but then like I like to make the whole idea of, okay, if this actually happened, how would you fucking survive? Like, would you make your own glass?
Well, to answer that question, I'm trying to prove that like you don't need much to make shit. Like if you get really creative, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pull your 50 down to 25. Pull that 25 down to a 14 mil giant.
Yeah, exactly.
And then take all those pieces and make it a bubbler.
Well, I asked Coyle and his creativity. He said that he would bring a G4 and then just fly home.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So there's all kind of aspects on what would happen here. So, yeah, dude.
That's smart. Well, hopefully Coyle and I would be on the island at the same time, and I could trade him some weed for a ride home.
Yeah, there you go. Glass, gas, or ass, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
So, cool, man. Well, again, thanks for your time, dude. Appreciate you coming out. And before I let you go, if you want to give our audience here some parting piece of advice and then where we can find you out there in the world of cyberspace.
Yeah, totally. My parting piece of advice is to always remember to have fun, and especially if you have a dog, have fun with your dog. And you can find me on Instagram at Blitzkriega. And yeah, drop me a line, say hi.
Hell yeah. Yeah, let them know you heard the show, and you'll be episode 141. It's actually going to come out tomorrow, so timing-wise worked out pretty good for the Wednesday show.
Cool.
So, yeah, so thanks for tuning in to episode 141 featuring Blitzkriega. And go check out his Instagrams and his other things out there. I'll have all the show note or links in the show notes for you to check out, as well as his website page, which is going to be wiseguymedia.com/141. And until next time, we'll talk to you on the next episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. Take it easy. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Glassroots Art Show. Now entering its 9th year, Glassroots is designed for artists and distributors who wish to do wholesale business with shops and galleries. Located at the Monona Terrace Convention Center on beautiful Lake Monona in downtown Madison, Wisconsin, the art show features at least 25 glassworkers demonstrating and creating pieces for public viewing, live and silent auctions, raffles, and approximately 40 booths consisting of raw material supplies, functional and non-functional art, and glass charitable organizations. This year, in 2017, Glassroots will be held October 9th through the 11th, and for any more information, just go to glassrootsartshow.com. That's glassrootsartshow.com. This episode is also brought to you by The Flow magazine. Since its inception, the focus of The Flow has been to provide a bond among members of the lampworking community. This has been accomplished by developing relationships with the finest artists and sharing their techniques with you through in-depth, step-by-step tutorials. In every issue, you can enjoy great content with the hottest artists and cutting-edge techniques using the latest industry products. These features, along with the continuation of our Women in Glass edition, Glasscraft Emerging Artist Awards, inspiring gallery showcases, dynamic general interest articles, as well as health and safety information, make The Flow the leading international lampworking journal. For more information or to subscribe to The Flow, go to theflowmagazine.com. That's theflowmagazine.com.